Denmark is preparing to go to war with the United States of America, not with Russia, not with an adversary, but with the United States of America, their NATO ally for 75 years. The superpower they fought alongside with in Afghanistan. The partner they trusted so completely that they debated eliminating entire branches of their own military. In January 2026, Danish troops were deployed to Greenland. Their mission: to defend Danish sovereignty against potential American annexation. The chairman of Denmark's Defense Committee just declared that the trust between these allies is not coming back. American weapon systems Denmark purchased are now seen as potential tools of blackmail. Officials in Copenhagen are asking whether they can rely on American IT infrastructure or if it might be weaponized against them. This isn't a hypothetical crisis. This isn't diplomatic theater. This is a 75-year alliance collapsing in real time. And it all started with an island covered in ice that Donald Trump decided he wanted to own. Hey, welcome back to World Powers Fusion. In this video, we'll be dissecting the Greenland crisis and how it shattered one of the oldest alliances in the Western world. This is far more complex than the headlines portray. Why does America want Greenland as its possession? And how does this demand impact its relationship with Denmark and other NATO nations? Let's begin by looking at what Greenland is like that makes America hell-bent on acquiring it. Greenland's a massive island, mostly covered in ice. It sits at one of the most strategically important positions on Earth. It's the geographic gateway between North America and Europe. It's rich in rare earth minerals that modern technology depends on. And as Arctic ice melts, it's becoming increasingly accessible. For decades, Greenland has been part of the Kingdom of Denmark, with significant autonomy for its indigenous population. Since 1951, the United States has maintained a military presence there through agreements with Denmark. Thule Air Base in northern Greenland hosts critical early warning systems and space surveillance. It's been described as America's eyes on Russian missile activity. But here's what makes this story fascinating. The United States already has everything it needs in Greenland. Under existing NATO agreements, America can station troops there, build bases, can maintain a permanent military presence without any expiration date. Denmark has never threatened to revoke these rights. They're not negotiable. They're simply part of the alliance. So when President Trump began demanding Greenland at Davos, proposing frameworks and discussing deals, he was asking for something America essentially already possessed, except for one thing: sovereignty, the actual ownership of the land. And that marked the breaking point. In late January, Rasmus Jarlov, the chairman of Denmark's Defense Committee, gave an interview that revealed just how badly this crisis has damaged the transatlantic relationship. His assessment was stark and uncompromising. The trust between the United States and Denmark, he explained, is broken, irreversibly. On a closer look, Denmark had put so much at stake in the name of the alliance with America. They had integrated their entire defense structure with the United States. They had debated whether they even needed a complete military, whether they could simply specialize in certain capabilities and rely on America for the rest. They had placed their national security entirely in American hands. Danish politicians had actually discussed eliminating their submarines, or their navy, or their air force, keeping only specialized units that would plug into the broader NATO structure. That's how deep the trust ran. But now they've been shaken back to reality, and all those flirting ideas are gone, because they now know something they didn't know before. American support can switch real quick. The security guarantee they had built their entire defense policy around is solely transactional. It's conditional and can evaporate within a twinkling of the eye. From Denmark's perspective, America's demand is more than reasonable. And from America's perspective, apparently, what Denmark has given so far is not enough. But the critical question here is, what does sovereignty actually add from a military standpoint? If you can already build permanent bases, station unlimited troops, and operate without restriction, what does owning the land itself give you that you don't already have? The answer, from a purely military perspective, is very little. This is about something else, about prestige, about control, about not accepting limits. Yeah, about pure greed. So far, the rhetoric from Washington has been brutal. The Treasury Secretary called Denmark an irrelevant country. Trump mocked their World War II defeat by Germany, a nation 15 times their size. These weren't diplomatic tensions. These were insults, and Denmark has received these with unexpected coolness. For them, they're beyond that. The insults aren't what keeps Danish officials up at night. What terrifies them is the unpredictability. It's the weaponization of security. It's the realization that American weapon systems Denmark has purchased might be used as leverage to extract concessions. It's the knowledge that the American IT infrastructure their society depends on could be shut off to inflict damage. Denmark is now asking questions that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Can we trust American military equipment? Should we divest from American technology systems? How do we protect ourselves from an ally? These are the conversations happening in Copenhagen right now. Not about Russia, not about China, but about the United States, their own longtime ally and friend. Trump claimed at Davos that Denmark owes America for World War II and the Marshall Plan, that Europe should be grateful, that this debt should translate into territorial concessions. Denmark's Defense Committee Chairman, Jarlov, made a response to this that cuts to the heart of the matter. Yes, Denmark owes America gratitude. But if wartime assistance created a right to claim territory, then Britain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and dozens of other countries would live in perpetual fear that America might one day show up demanding land for services rendered 80 years ago. And the cruel irony is, Denmark has actually tried to repay that debt. When America was attacked on September 11, 2001, Denmark invoked Article 5 of the NATO treaty. Danish soldiers fought and died in Afghanistan, fighting America's war. They didn't hesitate. They didn't demand concessions. They honored their alliance. And now, less than a quarter century later, those same alliance commitments are being used against them. The loyalty Denmark showed is being repaid with threats of annexation. But perhaps the most damaging aspect of this entire crisis isn't what it means for Denmark. It's what it means for the broader security architecture of Europe. Denmark is the leading contributor to Ukraine per capita by a significant margin. While Russia wages a brutal war of aggression in Eastern Europe, Danish military aid has been flowing steadily to Kyiv. This is a nation of less than 6 million people punching well above its weight in defending European security. And now Denmark is forced to deploy troops to Greenland. Not to counter just any alien, nor to deter any actual threat, but to defend against the United States. Money that could go to Ukraine is being spent on Arctic deployments. Military planning that should focus on containing Russian aggression is instead consumed with defending Danish sovereignty. Resources are being diverted from the actual fight against authoritarianism to protect against America's territorial ambitions. This is the hidden cost of the Greenland crisis. Every dollar Denmark spends defending Greenland from America is a dollar that can't be spent helping Ukraine defend itself from Russia. And Russia is watching, calculating, understanding that the Western alliance is tearing itself apart. But there's a group whose voice has been strangely absent from much of the American discourse: the Greenlanders themselves. The majority of Americans of the MAGA camp tend to be of the opinion that Greenlanders want to become Americans. But the reality is a stark contrast. Greenland isn't a territory yearning for liberation, and the inhabitants have made clear they have no interest in American sovereignty. Greenlanders, apparently, are a people who value their autonomy and see their future within the Danish realm, with the possibility of eventual independence from Denmark, but on their own terms, not as a transaction between Copenhagen and Washington. This is a basic reality that has taken American policymakers by surprise. You can't just absorb a population that doesn't want to be absorbed. So what comes next? As of now, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is reportedly mediating negotiations between the United States and Denmark. Rutte has good relations with Trump, which could prove valuable. But, as at the time of making this video, Denmark apparently hasn't yet seen the details of the framework for a deal that's supposedly being discussed. The Danish position is clear and unwavering. They're willing to be more than reasonable with America. They will give America everything it needs militarily. They will discuss expanded bases, mining rights, and increased Arctic cooperation. But sovereignty is non-negotiable. Greenland belongs to Denmark and the Greenlanders. That's the red line. And Denmark has made it clear they're willing to accept significant costs to defend that principle. On a deeper level, this crisis reveals something profound about the current state of the Western Alliance. For 75 years, NATO has operated on a fundamental assumption that despite disagreements, despite different interests, the alliance members share common values and mutual obligations, that an attack on one is an attack on all. That sovereignty is sacred. The Greenland crisis has shattered that assumption. When the world's most powerful nation begins making territorial demands on one of its oldest allies, when security guarantees become transactional, when loyalty becomes leverage, the entire foundation of the alliance becomes questionable. Jarlov said something in his interview that resonates far beyond Denmark. He said that it's not too late to save NATO. Implicit in that statement is the recognition that NATO now needs saving. That what seemed unshakable has become fragile. Denmark is a small country. It cannot stand up to the United States militarily, but it has something that size and power cannot diminish: the moral clarity of a nation defending its sovereign rights. And that clarity has resonated across Europe, where other nations are watching and wondering. If Denmark today, then who tomorrow? The Greenland crisis may eventually be resolved through diplomatic channels. A face-saving framework might emerge. Tensions might ease. But the damage is done. Denmark now knows it cannot fully trust the United States. And every other small NATO member is watching and drawing the same conclusion. Ultimately, the question isn't whether Denmark can withstand American pressure. Rather, it is whether an alliance can survive when its most powerful member treats sovereignty as negotiable and loyalty as a commodity. The answer to that question will define not just the future of NATO, but the entire post-war international order. And that's what's really at stake in Greenland right now. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel to be notified on more videos about how this situation plays out. Cause will bring you more updates on this soon.